And because last week I gave you guys the wrong message, or not the wrong message, the same message as Saturday because I had the wrong PPT up, I'm going to go over the armor of God today, finally. Okay, so who are we? How do we live? For what? That's right. That's right. So, this is the world we live in. I mean, this is the world, as a picture of the world. And to put that in perspective, you can't even see, even by a representative dot of where we are in this world. And this is a world that God loves so much. This is also a world where the devil is working. Okay, and the sooner you open your eyes to see it, I don't mean it in a weird way, but I mean it in a factual way, to see things clearly, your worldview being shaped by spiritual truth and reality. The sooner you do that, it'll put perspective on everything you do, on everything you do. Later on, when you get a job or your occupation, it'll affect how you look at that too, how you look at the first paycheck you get. It'll change everything. And getting a paycheck or getting things, worldly things, in light and view of the bigger picture, it's not that big of a deal. Having all those things and having money is good, but having all those things and not having the correct worldview is far worse. Far worse. Okay, so today briefly, I wanted to talk about what we've been talking about, the adult service. You guys aren't. You guys can look it up if you want on our Facebook or YouTube channel, and you watch the message. But what does it mean to take up your cross and follow Jesus? Okay, and for me and for I think most Christians, a lot of Christians, when you think about taking up your cross, it's like, oh, I got to take up my cross. Like, you're taking it up, and it's like suffering, it's like pain, and you see people like during Passion Week actually carrying physical crosses, and like I don't know if you've seen that. There's a TikTok guy that does it in the rain. He's like carrying his cross in the rain, and I get it. He's like trying to show that he's trying to live his life committed to the Lord. But when Jesus says that, he's not really meaning literally to take up a cross. It's a confession of faith. What does it mean for you to if you want to follow Jesus, you have to take up your cross. What does that mean? That means you have to realize that the sin that you have and the sin that we all carry is deserving of that cross. Like, that's what we deserve. That's our cross. The cross that Jesus bears, that's not his. He doesn't deserve that. Not even close. He doesn't deserve a cross. He deserves a throne. Does that make sense? Like the greatest throne, the highest throne. That's what he deserves. But the cross that he takes, it's not his. It's ours. If you want to follow Jesus, that's what it means. You have to take up your cross. You have to realize, yes, I deserve the cross. This is the cross that's mine to bear because I'm a sinner. I deserve death. I deserve judgment. And the moment you make that confession, Jesus takes it from you. It's not yours anymore. He's like, okay, good. I want you to make the confession of faith. That's what it is. It's a confession of faith. It's not literally take up a cross. Does that make sense? It doesn't mean literally in your backyard you have a cross and every day you go take it up for a little bit. That's not what it means. But in a spiritual confession way, it is. You're taking the cross, saying every day, Lord, you're denying yourself, realizing I could do things on my own, but I know I'm not going to be successful. I can't be perfect, and I know I need you. I'm taking up your cross as saying, I'm a sinner, I'm not perfect, I make so many mistakes. Lord, forgive me. And you're taking your cross, and Jesus is like, that's great. That's the confession I want from you. And he says, you know what? And reminds us that cross is the one. He takes it right off your hands when you made that confession. Does that make sense? You don't drag it. And Paul daily takes up his cross, and that's a confession. It's a confession of faith. He's the chief of sinners. He dies to Christ every day. That's what it means to take up your cross. To make that confession and see what he's done for you. Guys, it's incredible. It's not just something you wear on your chain or this emblem of the cross. What's displayed on a cross, what Jesus does, perfect God, displays his love for you and me. And you got to personalize it. That's your cross that he takes. And he becomes sin. And he pays the debt of sin on the cross for you. Amen? Because that's the most important thing in their worldview. The second thing is this. Once you get the gospel, once you know the gospel, that's just the beginning. Now you got to arm yourself. All the armor that we talk about is all Christ. You have to arm yourself. It's not a game. It's not basketball. It's not baseball. It's not we have an opponent, and sometimes he seems like your enemy, and after the game, sportsmanship, you're supposed to be like, yeah, good game. That's how you're supposed to be. This ain't that kind of a game. Okay, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against the principalities, against the powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in the high places. This battle that we're in, it's not a game, it's a war. And the enemy is not a friend. It's not an adversary in the sense that he's your opponent. He hates us. He hates everyone, actually. And he hates everyone because he hates God. And he hates God because God judged him. And rightfully so, because he rebelled against God. And he hates us because we're not like demonic powers or angels. Angels they also had them, but they were not made in God's image. They were made as servants. That's the difference. That's why the devil's so jealous about it. Angels and demons, they're jealous. Maybe not angels, or maybe even angels. I think there are some biblical texts where it says that. That's how great God has created us in his image. We can be children of God. Our relationship with God is entirely different from angels. Entirely. And fallen angels, Lucifer being number one, he's our enemy. He hates us, of us. He's constantly working to destroy. He doesn't care who wins or loses, guys. Right now, if you flip on the news, you'll see this whole thing, Biden-Trump thing. You'll see it. You'll see the right, you'll see the left. He doesn't care who wins. Doesn't care if the far right wins, the far left wins. It doesn't matter. As long as we're killing each other in the war in Ukraine, it doesn't matter who wins, Russia or Ukraine. As long as people are dying and people are killing each other, people are divided, he's happy. He doesn't care if Trump wins or Biden wins. I'm sure he'll probably prefer Biden, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter, though, and I'm not trying to get political. That's not the point. He doesn't care who wins as long as people are killing each other, hating each other, divided, and not realizing that we're all human, that we're all sinners, that we all need God's grace. The fact. Gay, straight, trans, whatever, LGBTQ plus 50,000, doesn't matter. Everybody's a sinner. Everybody needs Christ. Amen? And the spiritual forces of darkness, they just don't want you to know the truth, okay? So there is evil in the world. It's very, very easy to see. And I know I went through this picture. I want to go over this because I want you to remind you, anything that looks like candy, don't eat it. Because it could be fentanyl. That's what some versions of fentanyl look like. It looks like candy. And the fentanyl that's being used, it's put in all kinds of other things too. If you go to a party and there's a punch bowl, you shouldn't be going to parties right now anyway, but I'm sure you'll. Huh? Well, if you end up going to one, just don't take anyone. It's crazy out there. It was always been out there, but it's more prevalent. Guys, fentanyl has killed more United States citizens than World War I and II combined. And I showed you the video. This is not a movie. This is not Hollywood. This is actual, I won't go through the video, but this is, okay? It's not a movie. Okay, this is happening on the street. That's Philadelphia. It's happening in Skid Row. It's happening everywhere. I'm not going to show you the video again, but this is the statistics. Numbers don't lie. You can do whatever you want with them. The highest growing rate of depression, severe clinical depression, is what? The biggest bump. It's increased across the board. The biggest bump is age 12 to 17, 63% higher. It's high across the board, but it's higher in younger people. Hence, my wholehearted belief that you guys have much more to deal with than I did when I was your age. Okay, a lot of stress to succeed. What is that? What is the definition of success? There's so much more pressure on you guys because all you see are clips of people being perfect or near perfect. It's not real. It's not real. Okay? Just please remind yourself when you're shooting basketball hoops, especially from the three-point line, if you miss, Steph misses 6 out of 10, and he's considered the greatest shooter that ever created. He misses 6 out of 10. More than half his shots, he misses. Okay, but with the pressure you get from TikTok and all this other stuff, are people always making the shot. It's unrealistic. Or always like doing whatever they're doing. I butchered it, my bad. Whatever they're doing, it's 1 second of their life. You don't see the reality of how sad they are, how depressed they are. The numbers don't lie. The more technology's grown, it's supposed to get better, right? Aren't we supposed to be more chill and more like, yeah, I'm happy? No, the thing that you think makes you happy or entertains you actually makes you more depressed. Okay? So take a break up from it sometimes, please. Yeah. They're doing studies on the correlation between media and screen time and your mental health. They're doing correlations, and the dopamine hit that you gets you so addicted. That's why when you don't have your phone, you feel like, oh, like something's missing. That's an addiction. That's a chemical addiction. Okay? This is a suicide rate. Numbers don't lie. It's increasing across the board, but higher in the 20s and teens. And this is how one of the biggest agendas, and I don't want to call it a political agenda because there's political agendas are agendas that make money for people. Money for nobody. No one makes money from this. To distort gender roles, no one makes money from this. Okay? I believe it's cool. So this is what, if adults are going to do this, they shouldn't do it at the cost of hurting girls or hurting women. But there's biological males in women's sports. The Olympics have 2 biological male boxers. Did you guys watch? I'm not watching the Olympics. I'm kind of trying to ban the Olympics a little bit, but I'm keeping an eye on this. There was a girl boxer from, I forgot which country, the Middle Eastern country. She worked entire life. She's an Olympic athlete. She's the best at her boxing. She got hit by a biological man in the first round, 40 seconds. She got hit by a right hand, and she just like, I can't fight. Because she's boxed girls her entire life, but this was not a girl hitting her, and she felt it. She was like, I'm going to get hurt in here. So she in tears after the match, she was talking about her dad and her dad telling her never give up, but she just couldn't fight a man. Obviously a man. So this is what's happening in the world. Not just Leah Thompson, she's probably the most famous one. I mean, look at her, dude. I mean, look at him. Okay? And when you get into contact sports, it's crazy. I mean, seriously. Seriously, right? You seen the picture? I know it's like a really funny picture, but look at that. She is about, that woman is about to get wrung by a man. That's rugby. These are Army Special Forces guys turning to MMA, boxing, and the worst of it is, guys, an adult, you're free to choose. It's a free country. You're free to do whatever you want to your body. But to kids, okay? Boys being told that they can be girls. Girls being told that they can be boys. Children being told and taking medicine. And this was the youngest recorded one. You guys went over this, but this was years ago. She was 17 years old when she had complete gender sex surgery. Boy turned into girl. So all cut off. All replaced. That's just the beginning. What she has to go through, what he, who's now a she, has to go through to battle the infections, to keep the infections from happening because it's unnatural to have a women urethra in her body, in his body. Okay? And as this is happening, this is what's happening in the world. This is the Ukraine today. This is the Gaza Strip today, right now. Okay? And as this is happening in the world, as it's happening all around you, as evil is working, what is the devil doing? Very sneakily doing to you guys. I'm not immune from it either. Media, games, everything that is at the power of your hand or on your devices, a distraction. You shouldn't play games to like relieve some stress here and there. Yeah, play some games an hour or 2 a day. Even I think that's a lot for a student. Okay, well, 1 hour or 2 a day. But 8 hours? Like Ishmael, like I'm really praying for him because he can't sleep. He stays up till 7, 8. The sun comes up and he's on his device, and then he sleeps, and he wakes up, and that's why he's not here today. All summer he's been doing that. It's not just him. I know it's everybody. This is a way to get distracted, and it's all in your hands. And probably one of the biggest things is pornography. It's set up from a long time. And when I was young, it got set up. It was called Girls Gone Wild. I told this story before, I know, but it became mainstream media. It was okay to see girls flashing themselves as they're drunk and in like New Orleans or something, and it was okay. That's it was grooming. It was grooming my generation to think that porn and all this stuff was good, was fun and cool. Huh? What? What? Say. What? Your generation too? I'm just telling me what. Say. What?
Hey, Kim, just say it already.
Oh, I know. I already went through this, but see, this is the third time. That's how important it is. That's how important it is. It's all held in your phone. It's a distortion of what God's intended design for a relationship is. It's a distortion of what sex should be. It's a distortion of what women are and your future wife is. It distorts it to make it an object, to make it a thing when it's not. It's such a beautiful, beautiful thing to have sex. We'll call it sex. Sex, see, it's even saying the word sounds dirty, but it's not originally intended to be dirty at all. It results in you guys sitting here. Life. Two become one, as God says. You shall leave your mother and father, and the two shall become one. It's not just a act of sex that's becoming one. Elisha and Isaiah are half me and half wife. That's two becoming one, literally. Do you follow me? Yeah. But what's happening now, sex has turned into some kind of act. Oh, I made a mistake. I slept with some guy. Oh, I'm pregnant. Abortion. Why is the birth rate so low? It's not that people aren't having sex. People are having more abortions. And all of it's funneled by this machine, the system that the devil has set up. I just want you guys to be aware of it, okay? So when you guys get enticed, when you guys are on your devices, when you do that, just realize that's the beginning, okay? It's hard to stop and quit cold turkey, but at the beginning of it is to be aware, first of all, that it's not good for you. It's not, okay? So how do you begin to fight this battle? You have to put on the full armor of God. And now I'm going to explain the armor, okay? You need a belt of truth. Why do you need the belt? What is the truth? The opposite of truth? Lies. So you need to put on the belt of truth. Why? Because it holds up in those days, and even today, they didn't have pants that fit them like this. It wasn't like, especially your chainmail, your armor, okay, and the armor that you wear on your feet, on your legs too. They're not fitting like a Iron Man like a suit, right? It has to be bigger. And if you don't have a belt, you can't hold all that stuff up. If you don't have a belt, you can't put your sword there. What are you going to put the sword? Like in between legs? Like you need to have a belt to hold that sword up. Everything gets held up. And you tie it to fit your armor on your body. It's very, very important piece. The belt of truth is to hold everything else up, to combat against the lies of the devil. Okay? You got to have it. It's fundamental. Okay, so what you need to do, what do you mean what's a practical way? Always seek truth. If you think just a little, it's not hard to see. There's always lies around you. Even you yourself will tell you a lie. Okay? Don't even let yourself tell yourself a lie, okay? Find truth. Are you a basketball player? There's a semi-truth. No, I'm a child of God that plays basketball. That's the truth. That's the truth. Am I a basketball player or a baseball player that lost the game? Yeah, that's semi-true too. I'm a child of God that lost a basketball game or a baseball game. Okay? Breastplate of righteousness. I'm doing it in order. I think there's a reason why it was ordered that way. What is righteousness? First, you need the truth of God. What does the breastplate of righteousness cover? It's a very important organ in your heart. You get stabbed in the heart, it's endos, game over. You get hit in the rib and you dodge all that stuff, maybe even one lung puncture. I mean, lung puncture is pretty bad. But the heart is, you can't do it. What do you need the breastplate of righteousness for? You need to guard your heart. Because your heart is not just the physical heart I'm talking about, it's connected to your soul. Okay, God speaks and talks about his heart, man after his own heart. Okay, a heart is an element of emotion, but it's also a spiritual element. It's very, very, very important. You have to try to keep your heart pure. And the psalmist says, create in me a clean heart. What is a clean heart? What is a pure heart? A pure, clean heart is a heart that listens to God's still small voice. A lot of times he doesn't speak audibly, physically, he speaks to your heart. But we have a tendency not to listen to it. We listen to our ego. We listen to our thoughts. That's what gets us in trouble. Your heart will tell you, man, that's wrong. Don't do that. Man, your heart will tell you, man, why are you lying? Your heart will tell you, man, why did you lose your temper like that? Your heart, your clean heart will tell you. Your mind will tell you. I know I've said this before. You guys will probably hear this story how many times now? 2, 3 times now? 3 times, okay. But you get the point, so I'll stop there. You get the point, right? Breastplate of righteousness guards your heart against pride, but also it guards your heart to keep it clean from the attacks of the enemy. The enemy will try to give you a prideful heart, but God will try to give you a heart that when you listen to it, it will lead you to paths of righteousness. Okay? It's ultimately Christ's righteousness, but your heart, if you listen to it, it'll tell you, hey, that's not good for you. Hey, don't do that. And you got to, it's a man to listen to your heart. And your heart might make you cry. I think I've said this before again. A real man will cry. A real man cries. A real man listens to his heart. Have you guys watched the new, what's it called? Dune movie? Where the emperor's like, you know what's wrong with your father? He was weak because he listened to his heart. Remember that part? That's why I killed him. Remember that? You remember that? That's the devil right there. House Atreides. He listened to his heart. Listen to his heart. Okay. What's the next in order? Shoes fitted with the gospel keys. What is it? Why do you need shoes back then? It's rocky ground. There's not pavement like this. You need shoes to be able to go forward, to do anything. Let alone, you can't fight without shoes out there because it's rocky. You get your feet cut up. You know what I mean? You gotta have shoes. And it's not just shoes, it's the shoes of gospel of peace, meaning shoes that fit your shoes. If I try to wear Sella's shoes, I wouldn't be able to. I might be able to go because they're too small for me, but I won't be able to run. And after a while, my feet are gonna hurt. And I think Ty wears bigger shoes than me. I think he's size 11 or something like that. 10 and a half, 11, right? Yeah, if I wear your shoes, I could wear it for a little bit, but I can't run in them or else they're gonna fall off. And after a while, it's gonna hurt. Shoes fitted with the gospel of peace. Need shoes to move, go forward, fight. It's essential, and it's not just any shoes, it's shoes that fit your feet. And the only shoes that can fit your feet is the shoes of Christ, of peace. You got to put that on. You got to put on Christ so you can move with Christ, but it has to fit so you have peace wherever you go. Okay, you can't go anywhere if you don't have shoes back then. That's the imagery, okay? That's part of the armor. What's next? And 2 more. The shield of faith. Why do you need a shield of faith? Because it says clearly in Ephesians 6 to extinguish all the flames of the enemy. Have you guys watched 300? 300 Leonidas? No? Yeah, so when they make a joke, they're like, hey, fight in the sun, fight in the shade, because the guy, one of the emissaries of the great Xerxes, the half-god king, he's like, hey, we're Xerxes, arrows will come down on you, the rain from heaven or something. And then the guys are like making a joke, like, okay, then we'll fight in the shade. And it actually happens. They shoot all these arrows, like hundreds and hundreds of arrows at the same time. Can you imagine? You see those? And then what the Spartans do is they have these shields that cover their entire body, and all the arrows, and they're laughing at each other like, fight in the shade. All right, I did not explain that movie clip very well. But they'd use their shield to block all of the arrows, and after the fire, and when they did the arrows, it was like dark. It covered the skies with arrows. Anyway, they cut those arrows off, and that's what you need your shield for. Because the enemy is going to shoot arrows at you. If you don't have a shield, it's problematic. You can't you have to dodge and all that stuff. You need your shield of faith. All the disbelief that the devil will try to give you, you need a shield to block it. Okay? The final thing, piece of armor. Oh, two more. The next one that's in order. Why do you need a helmet? To protect your head. If you have brain damage, your head gets hit, I mean, you're done. You're done. So you need a helmet of salvation. You need your helmet. You need to guard your mind. The devil attacks your thoughts, guys. I think that's his first. He knows he can't touch your soul. Your soul's been bought, paid for, done, finished. Take your soul. But he can attack your heart and attack your thoughts. Okay? So you need to guard your mind with thoughts of what? Assurance of salvation. The enemy's going to attack, try to keep you distracted, try to keep you numb from thinking of salvation, thinking of Christ, thinking of who you are, your identity as a child of God. He's going to try everything to keep your mind focused on other things. And a big, big, big way he does that is through devices. When you're on devices, there's studies now that show that the part of your brain that actually does thinking gets kind of shut down. It gets numb. So that's why sometimes you could be watching something and it's crazy. Like you could be flipping through some reels or TikToks or something, and then after you look at your clock and like, dang, it's like 2 hours just passed by. It seemed like nothing. I mean, I'm sure that happens all the time, yeah? That's one of his strategies. So, again, I'm not saying you throw your phone away, but you guys need to have time to put it all down and okay? Put your helmet of salvation on. And lastly, if you don't have a weapon, there's no fear. The devil will not be afraid. I mentioned in today's adult service, like you have light. We all have light. We're all spiritual beings and light. And the devil sees it. But if you don't see it, if you don't see who you are, you're not putting on your armor. Hey, we're almost done. Listen to me. Stay with me at the very end. If you're not putting on your armor, in other words, knowing who you are, knowing your identity, knowing that you bear the light, the devil's going to be like, whoa, he doesn't know? Oh my gosh, he's not putting on his armor. All right, let me mess with him today. But the moment you put your armor on and then when you put out a sword is when he starts to flee. Okay? That's when you play offense. You can't play offense without a weapon, yeah? Yeah? I mean, to win the basketball game, you have to score, yes? It's called offense. You can have the greatest defense and you can shut them down, but if you don't score, you don't win. Yeah? It's the same thing in a spiritual war and battle. You can defend all you want. I don't know Call of Duty. COD, do they have a sniper rifle? Is there a situation in COD where you don't have any weapons? What if you run out of ammo? I said until you get the ammo box, then you're kind of screwed, right? That's exactly. Jimmy Cook. That's what it's like if you don't have your sword, bro. So if you don't read your word, I'm so thankful that, you guys are interested in reading your word. You guys should read your word. Start with Proverbs, Psalms, if you want, Gospel of John. Read your word. Sharpen your sword. Coming here also sharpening your sword. Hearing the word sharpens your sword. But you got to have a weapon so the devil will flee. You got to play offense too, yeah? And take that word to your field with all your armor on. Take it to your game. That's what Steph's trying to do. He's got verses on his arm. He's got on his shoes. He's just trying to remind himself. He's arming himself against all the distractions and temptations of being like, hey, bleh. And he's not perfect. He knows he's not perfect, but he's trying to keep his family together. He's not trying to be promiscuous. He's not trying to fall into the trap that many, many professional players have fallen into. He's trying to stay the straight, narrow path, but he's doing it with arming himself, especially with the word, okay? So this is the most important part. The spirit of the sword of the Spirit, which is what? The word of God. You have to arm yourself. Okay. Amen?